Why don't you just talk to me, bro?
That's right.
We've been talking this whole time.
I know.
And now you acting nervous and brand new.
I be nervous.
I don't like him.
Just talk to me.
And project too, because that mic's behind you.
Yeah, bro. Just talk to me.
All
right. No introduction. Just talk about what
you just talk. So we getting ready to talk about this impact report.
Yeah.
That you
you got nervous right there.
You saw that?
Your body language switched up. It's like your mom came in the room.
Bro, shut up, bro. Don't tell nobody that. Hey, mommy checked me anyway, whatever. Turn me into a 7-year-old.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm glad you're here at the house, bro. We get a chance to go over this impact report from the work you did, San Juan. A lot of good things that came out of this report, right? I'm not going to drown you with all the information, but I'm just going to give you a few things to just highlight, you know what I mean, the impact you truly had in that district, right? And then, you know, kind of end with some brief recommendations that I think the district should pick up on as we move forward.
And I appreciate that because it was definitely a lot of work. A lot of hours put in, a lot of time invested. And for you to come out to each site and interview all of the people, even though I wasn't allowed in the room.
Nah, you can't be in the room when I'm evaluating your performance.
I know.
That's like the principal being in the room with his teachers is evaluating their performance. Bro, you gotta, you know.
I know. I haven't really had a chance to go through the report the way that I want to. So for me to sit here and go through it with you as the creator of it, I think that's gonna be real powerful.
Well, do this for me, man, just to kind of set the stage for what we're getting ready to talk about. Tell me about Blueprint and Future Gen.
So Blueprint is a K-8 intentionally designed for 6th through 8th graders. It's a growth mindset program.
Right.
That 100% is complementary to the daytime programs, daytime schedules at each school site. So we had Kingswood, K-8, and then Thomas Edison Language Institute in San Juan Unified, and I literally facilitated workshops throughout their whole junior high. Every single class got multiple workshops, and you got a chance to come talk to both campuses and really see what the impact was. The idea behind it was, how do I help these babies develop a intentional blueprint for their future? What skills do they need in order to grow, to be successful in high school and beyond?
Let me stop you right there, man, because you and I both do this. I think it's important for folks to understand this, is also to understand our language.
Okay.
You and I both use babies.
Babies, yeah. My baby.
What does that derive from, man? Why you calling me a babies?
Because I've taken responsibility for the community. And the kids that I service literally become my family, because I spend intimate time with them, right? It's not much time, right? It's twice a month, bi-weekly. Depending on the service or the project at hand, it can either be 9 hours for half the year or 18 hours in a full year. But the relationship that I build with them, I feel like I'm a brother, an uncle, a father, a grandfather, or whatever. I'm something to these young people that is giving them an opportunity to attach themselves to. I literally have taken responsibility for the impact that I deliver to these campuses that I'm on. So they become my babies. Like, I take their lives and their success personally.
So by saying babies, that's like a level of accountability and ownership.
Absolutely.
Over who these young people are and who they'll become.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope.
Thank you.
Tell me about Future Gen.
Ah, man, Future Gen. So a mentor of mine a few years ago said, you know, what's missing for the high school babies, the teenage babies is workforce development. How do we prepare them for the 21st century? And also how do we prepare them to go into the work field or into a space of college or secondary education. And so the idea was to go in there and train them in professional development and 21st century skills. So we developed a secondary roadmap curriculum that is also embedded into the master schedule for any school, any high school site, and it's workshop style, and we just send them through skills and tools and things that's gonna allow our babies to have the ability to be successful when they apply for jobs or apply for college or an internship or whatever, and just kind of putting them in a position to be successful. Cause like, I literally remember coming out of high school, I wasn't prepared for my early 20s.
Yeah.
Right, and I vowed at a young age, like, if I can get to a space where I can help somebody else have the opportunity to become successful, and give them the skills and tools prior to them getting to the space, I'm gonna do that. And for me, that's what Future Gen is. It's like, look at the words, Future, Gen, right? Future generations. How do we develop the future generations to become successful? And that's what Future Gen was this past year. So we attached it to 5 high school campuses in San Juan Unified: Del Campo, Encina, Mesa Verde, Mariloma, and San Juan High School.
Dope, man. So look, I'm gonna go over some of the findings from this report. Just a few things about the report and about kind of my strategy. I wanted to approach this impact report by being able to assess the effectiveness of both the Blueprint and Future Gen programs by capturing both student voice and teacher voice, right? So in that, I'm making a conscious decision not to combine both voices together and come out like with stated impacts of both voices, but to instead say, like, let's give the babies their voice, because that's a big part of what Blueprint and Future Gen is all about. Absolutely. It's about empowering the babies, right? So they should have their own voice in this report. The teacher should have their own voice in this report. And then at the end of that, we'll look at what was the overall impact of the report.
Sounds good.
So starting with students, man, like, first of all, man, these babies love me. Like, I seen that, like, just coming on campus with you, and every kid just running up to you like, Mr. Chris, Mr. Chris, Mr. Chris. And like every class you come into, Mr. Chris, like, the babies really love you. And not only do they love you, bruh, they was actually upset when you left.
Yeah, I was upset when I left.
Yeah, like when you would come and they'd be like, are you staying today? And you'd be like, nah. Like, you could see physically the disappointment in their faces.
Yeah, man, that hurts me a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like that feeling.
Yeah. And so that for me, that's the first thing I noted, right? The first level of impact is, how do people respond to you when you come within their presence, right? If you come in on campus and you walking into the classroom and people is like, oh, Mr. Chris is here, and the kids is like, hey. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a good sign, right? But when you coming into a space, like, and the dope thing is, it's not just the students, it's the teachers too. I'm noticing when you walking into the space, teachers shutting down everything. Hey, Mr. Chris is here. Mr. Chris, what you want to do?
Yeah.
What you trying to do right now? You know what I mean? Like, they ready to shut their whole program down to give you however much time you need.
Yeah.
And then they'll get back to, and so that's showing impact there. But some of the things that the students said, Mr. Chris is real. Mr. Chris is a great person. Mr. Chris inspired us. Mr. Chris is very approachable, open, relaxed, but also has a great way of flowing with the energy in the room. So not only are you getting the great adjectives that describe you here, right? But you even got students saying, we more engaged here in this space with him than we are in other spaces, right? And kids, sometimes our babies can be some of the least self-aware people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for them to even say like, nah, like we're noticing that within ourselves and with our peers that, you know, Mr. Chris definitely is making an impact.
So that's one of the things that I really try to focus on in implementation is self-awareness and relationship. Right? Like, how do I get you to see yourself? What is your reflection? What are you doing while you're in the spaces that you're in?
Right.
And I'm glad that they were able to articulate, and it may not have been me at all. Right? They could have this could have been a young person or one of our babies who was already self-conscious and aware of, you know, their abilities and strengths and etc. But I hope that I've been able to help them articulate that a little bit more through some of the exercises that I presented.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's one thing for you yourself to be impactful, right? But it's a whole nother thing for your program to be impactful, right? And so some of the things that the students said about the program itself, one student said, I gained knowledge from it. Can't learn the things we were learning in BSU from anywhere else. We have a community now. We can go to each other for help. Other students said, I learned a lot about how to handle things. Folks are starting to see more value in themselves, more aware to not argue with teachers versus before the program. In fact,
a baby said that?
A baby said that.
Wow.
In fact, 62% of all the babies, when I surveyed them, said that their growth mindset had evolved as a result of the program. Now, the thing you have to realize when we're talking about the impact of that statement is how many of that 62% even knew what a growth mindset was. So not only have I been able to understand what a growth mindset is, but I've been able to ascertain where my growth mindset was and where it is. Right? Yeah. So that's the true end. It's not just that it's evolved, it's now I'm even conscious of it.
And
right?
I can measure it.
Come on now. I have that language, right? So students really indicated that the curriculum of the program, both our middle school babies and our high school babies, indicated that the curriculum of the program really helped to build those core building blocks of esteem, growth mindset, awareness, consciousness, right? Your Afrocentric activist type curriculum that allowed them to be able to say that I am and I'm going to be, and you know, what tell me about the exercise you have them do at the beginning of the class.
Oh, the affirmations?
The affirmations.
Yeah, well, it's a mental health and self-care exercise that we practice on a regular basis. And I didn't just have the babies do it too, right? I would have the teachers do it as well. And what I've come to find is if you could be the smartest person in the room, right? You could be academically sound A+, but if your heart don't feel good, right? If your soul is not healthy, if your emotions and your mentality don't match academia, you have a problem, right? That's why we have a lot of successful people nowadays committing suicide because they're not healthy inside.
Yeah.
And my pedagogy is if I can get you to love yourself, to fall in love with yourself and your dreams, and know that you are capable of doing anything, then you will do anything, right? And so what we do is, before I start any class, I have booklets that the babies get, and the teacher as well, and they have to write 5 I am affirmations, and they have to be all positive. So an example of that would be, I am intellectual, I am brilliant, I am capable, I am wonderful, I am spontaneous. And so they write their own 5 to 10 affirmations, and then we read a list of 25 ones because we want to prime the room. We want the room to have good energy in it, and we want the babies as a collective to believe the same things.
Man, you know that hearing you say that makes me kind of want to jump all over the place in terms of this impact report because I'm thinking about our first visit to Mesa Verde and how that interview you're talking about impacted that teacher, right? But I'm gonna say that for a little bit later. I do want to transition though into teacher voice, right? And be able to give you some feedback as it relates to some of what the teachers are saying.
Can I just tell you, this is like nerve-wracking for me?
Is it?
A little bit. I mean, because I do the work, but to have somebody come evaluate it, and I have no idea what you asked any of these. I don't even really know who you talked to.
Yeah. So you put me in front of just about every teacher that you could put me in front of. Which I appreciate that, and we connected, I want to say, with about 85% of the teachers that participated in both the Blueprint and Future Gen program. The first and foremost thing that I wanted to ascertain from the teachers is the program effective, right? Like, the kids saying that it's effective is one thing. But what are the adults saying, right? So I had adults saying things like, I noticed one student who has struggled behaviorally and academically locked into the lesson and motivated to attend. Students are eager to participate. One student that is usually not confident to participate and spends more time talking and being disruptive, participated without being told. Mr. Chris and his program fills a hole that families sometimes aren't able to fill. Mr. Chris worked around growth mindset and regulation of behavior. All these things have academic benefits for my students.
Man, Mr. Chris fills holes that sometimes families can't. That's big. There's a space to do some intentional work around that, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you caught this, and I may be putting the buggy before the horse, as my grandmother would say, but I feel like there's an opportunity for development for some of the teachers that I was working with.
I mean, the truth of the matter is your program is filling some areas of opportunities that exist for these students, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What was one of the things that stood out to you most from the questions with the teachers? Was one thing that, like, a highlight for you that you saw?
I mean, I want to say a highlight that I saw was just the general affection that all of the teachers had towards you and towards the work that you did with their students, right? I really feel like, and don't get me wrong, not all teachers felt like there was value for their students with your program, right? And I think when I looked at the data, the teachers who didn't understand the value of the program for their students were also the teachers that had the greatest challenges when it came to classroom management, right? So those things are correlated. I'm not saying one is the cause of the other, but teachers who talked often in their interviews about having struggles around classroom management also had challenges understanding the value of your program for their students, right? Now, there could be a couple reasons to that. One, it could just be that they generally felt that your program, for whatever reason, didn't have value. But a part of it might just be, well, it's hard for Mr. Chris to implement his program in the way it's designed to be implemented when he has to spend the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of every class implementing like classroom management standards. And then trying to do those two things simultaneously, right? But I think just in terms of highlights, right? Like all of the teachers admitted that not only were you a respite for them as it relates to their class, but many of them even indicated that you were a respite for them personally. That as they sat in class and listened to you deliver your content and then began to engage and participate in the lessons, that they would walk away uplifted with better sense of self and feeling more empowered and understanding their evolution of their growth mindset, right? When you think about, and this goes to your thing about professional development, you know your program has applications for professional development when greater than 50% of your teacher participants are saying, I professionally grew and personally grew as a result of being exposed to what Mr. Chris is doing with my student. I was able to personally become introspective and look at my own life and say, like, in my own life, am I doing some of these things that Mr. Chris, am I giving myself these personal affirmations? Right. And then professionally, I'm able to look at the classroom management techniques, the pedagogical approach, right? The curriculum, and I'm able to say, now how can I incorporate? In fact, you even had teachers that said, like, Mr. Chris need to leave like follow-up lessons that we can implement in class when he's not here, right? Wow. That really should, and you know, like I said, that first time we went to Mesa Verde and we sat down with that teacher and she was like, I left your program and went and talked to my husband and gave him your curriculum and told him to engage it. And then she went and got very personal with us and really told us some of the struggles that her and her husband were having in her marriage, but then came out of that and was like, but ever since we've gotten what you've given us, it seems like things are beginning to turn around, right? And so that's a tremendous highlight when you're not only impacting the youth, but you're impacting the adults as well.
Man, thank you. So I've learned, especially over this last year, because I've probably taught over 150 hours just in San Juan alone, right? And I'm in the Bay Area, I'm in Saxena Unified, I'm in El Grove Unified as well. So like some of this stuff gets lost in transition. But I do want to say thank you for the articulation of it. I don't get to see my impact often. So for you to come in and capture some of the impacts that have taken place from student and teacher and campus, like that means a lot. I appreciate that.
Here are the recommendations that I got based on this report. The first one would be a dedicated community liaison that could facilitate communication between the school district, you, and the school.
I like that. There has to be one consistent person that has the blueprint for the whole contract.
Yes.
And the implementation of it. Okay, that's good.
Every site that we went to noted a breakdown in communication as it relates to who is Mr. Chris, when is he coming,
and why is he here.
Exactly. Yeah. So having that dedicated community liaison is important. Okay. Increased time.
Yep.
All the teachers 100% said not enough time with Mr. Chris.
Yeah.
Students, not enough time with Mr. Chris.
Yeah.
With increased time, small group sessions. So some students need more intensive work.
Absolutely.
Doing 35 students in a middle school class is cool, but opportunities to pull some students out and do smaller group sessions is important. Of course, my mind goes to the famous 10 at Thomas Edison, right? Like, groups like that really need that, which is really just tapping into your holistic way of teaching students, where I believe you said earlier, if I could teach them how to love themselves and how to love their dream, then they can do anything, right? So how do we teach teachers how to take that same approach in their teaching, right? Doing some professional development work around that, I think would be very beneficial, not only to the teachers you're working with, but to the entire San Juan school district. So those are the recommendations, man. What you think?
Lost for words, man. I'm grateful, appreciative, super thankful for San Juan giving the opportunity to do the work, and them kind of taking a chance with this type of pedagogy, right? Like this is a different space.
Yeah.
Bringing a community-based organization into a master schedule, attaching it to professional teachers inside their classroom to teach growth mindset is out of the norm.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my organization. I'm proud of my team. Just grateful and thankful. I really don't have any words. Give me your overarching epiphany of the program.
My overall epiphany of the program really relates to just the power of having a black man provide a positive example in front of a classroom, right? The impact that you had on campuses that did not have many black men.
Or men in general.
Right? That was tremendous, right? And so I think that was the first step in the right direction for you. But then for you to back up just your positive energy with tremendous content, right? That really establishes that you're the real deal, and that the work you're doing is really impactful for students, right? And that hopefully you're able to increase your territory next year so that you can be even more impactful, because the babies really need it.
What's something that you think us as an organization can help to facilitate in San Juan next year, or any school district in general, from what you've seen via the report?
Yeah, I think I spoke to you once before about this. I think the space that you need is to learn, or to be able to replicate yourself.
Yeah.
Because the more you can replicate yourself, I think the more impact you'll have in San Juan. Because now we're not just relying on Chris to do the work, right? We got replicas of Chris in different sites at the same time doing this work, right? I think for you, that's the next step in the evolution is, can I bring a person or two on and teach them what we're doing, and give them the license to take it and kind of implement this in different places.
I like that.
Yeah.
Doc, thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you. It's been an honor.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Looking forward to 2019, 2020.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Doc.
All right.